At the time of this recording, we're celebrating Hanukkah. Mike, it was a group of people who refused to continue in one vein of thought, that is, how do we survive the Greek occupation, and began to have new thinking, new dreams, new visions about how do we overthrow them and displace them out of land altogether. A change of mind, a change of vision, new dreams, new visions brought about circumstances that ultimately led to the birth of Messiah in a time and a culture and a social system that allowed him to be Torah observant. Can you imagine that if they had not overthrown the Greeks, the temple would not have been able to be utilized according to Torah, and Yeshua would not have been able to observe much of the Torah that he would have been required to. So it started with a new dream and a new vision. Here's my thought for today.
Okay.
If we don't have fresh dreams and new visions, then we're only recycling or rehearsing what we've previously considered, and we're actually spinning our wheels. Is that accurate?
I think so. Let me throw a couple things in before I get there. Is number one, if it had not been for the Maccabees, and I've said this so many times, it's kind of like repeat. If it had not been for the Maccabees, it would not be that Yeshua would not have a temple to go to. He would not have been born. Okay, because the Antiochus Epiphanes desired two things. Number one, to wipe out all the Jews, which would have been the ancestors of Miriam, and number two, he desired to wipe out all the aspects of Torah, which means we would not have a Torah to be restored to. And it's possible that instead of Thanksgiving having a turkey, we could be having ham.
We fail to properly understand the incredible significance of that 3-year struggle, and we relegate the lighting of the Hanukkah, the candles and so forth. Well, it's just a false legend about oil for 8 days and jelly donuts. No, it's a lot more than that. And it's not just a Jewish significant feast time. There's, our focus today is not Hanukkah per se, but it surely fits the scenario.
Yeah. So when we talk about this, is it that let's tie the Maccabees into this scenario here about the moving forward, about just rehearsing the same thing that we've done. Is it that the Maccabees got a new dream in that day, or is it that they got in touch with the original dream? That Mattathias, when he looked up, when he saw that this person was going to be slaughtering a pig upon the altar, he got in touch with the original dream. And that was a people that would be walking in covenant. So what caused him action was when his dream lined up with the Almighty's dream, a people of covenant that would be walking in the instructions of the Torah. Go ahead.
My mind just went spin cycle here.
I'm waiting.
Give me, let me. So, could it be then that we are stuck in the recycle mode of our dreams and visions sometimes in the recycle mode, they don't come across as dream and visions. They come across as wishes. I wish I could have, or I wish things were different, or I
Mm,
wish people, whatever. You're just wishing about something. Actually, you're dreaming about it to some degree, but it's fallen down the ladder of possibility, and that you're not putting anything productive behind as far as steps or means of accomplishing a dream. If you have a dream, you want to increase your income, you want to lose weight. Let's use lose weight. You got some pounds that you want to get rid of.
are you talking to me specifically?
No, I'm talking in a very general fashion because you and I are in perfect health.
Arr.
Yes, I would flex on camera, but we'd have too many emails. Uh,
Yeah, and I'd be turning it off too.
yeah, it'd be bad. You got some pounds you want to get rid of. You keep looking in the mirror and you keep frowning at yourself. Well, you can dream of and have a vision of, or even put up a picture of yourself when everything looked the way you wanted it to 50 years ago. And dream about that to some degree, or you can use that as motivation to say, okay, to get to that position, I need to change my diet from this to this, and
Mhm.
my exercise routine needs to be this and so. And I need to take care of certain health issues or increase products that are going to help me, etc. You put together a game plan and you get your wife, your husband, your children, your parents, somebody to say, will you help hold me accountable? That if
Mhm.
I don't follow through on this plan for a day, I may have a cheat day figured in somewhere where I can give my body a little bit of a rest from the routine, but I'm going to stick to this plan because this is my dream and I want my dream to come true. Otherwise, you just sit there with your dream just going around in a circle, with a circle, with a circle. When you said previous dreams, though, sometimes it could be then that the reasons that our dreams are not coming to pass or our visions are not producing anything is that they are I know how to say this, is that they're a false dream. The real dream is something that was previous that was abandoned. Maybe it was thought too hard and an impossibility. I'll trade the impossible dream for something that's a whole lot easier.
Okay.
But you and I both know that if you make it too easy, people won't do anything. You set the
Oh
bar
yeah.
so low, it's like, why bother? Why even try?
Okay. Well, let's take it from your scenario here about weight loss or health or something like that, and let's take it over to. And I know this sounds like we're all over the board here, and maybe we are, but let's take it into something called restoration.
Okay.
Okay, and that's something that all of us deal with. This thing of restoration. What is restoration? Okay, is restoration? I watched the "we" word there because I don't like that. Uh, are are many people trying to restore us to the original vision of a people called Israel, a people walking in covenant, a people that are walking in faith in in redemption, people that are walking in faith in Messiah, people who see that faith, that trust produces an obedience in Torah. That the more that we fall in love with the Creator, with the Almighty, that then his commandments are not grievous. His commandments are out of love. I mean, is that the original dream, or is the dream that we could just go back and fix what Constantine did?
Wow.
So let's put a band-aid on Constantine. instead of going back to the original root of the Father's dream. You know, we've talked about it, and I was discussing this with Daniel last night. The system, and you and I have talked about. It's been a long time. We used to talk about this a lot. The system, and I think you were the one that coined the phrase "the systemites."
Yeah.
And here's the discussion that I had with Daniel. I know this is way we're kind of all over as I said, but I think it's worth going to.
We'll get that, corral eventually, so just keep.
Well, who knows? It may not corral. It may just stay a wild horse. I don't know. Here's the discussion I had with Daniel. We were talking about the whole thing of restoration and the different things in a way people are trying to go about things. And I said, you know, here's a major issue in my book is that we have a generation now, and I'm not judging anybody. I'm not pointing. This is not a pointing finger at anyone. We have a generation that is beginning to take leadership roles that don't understand the system that they never had to come out of.
True.
Okay.
True.
So you and I understand what the system was. And I said to Daniel, I said, you don't, you know, and he didn't take things personal. I said, you know, you don't understand because you were 5, 6 years old when, you know, when I was pastoring, and I wasn't pastoring a church that was a systemite church. Neither were you. You had the system trying to control you from all aspects. But I was part of. I mean, I was there at Freedom Tab. I saw you were not submitting yourself to the system, but the system was trying to continue to control and invade you. I said, you know, I did the same thing.
Yeah.
The system, I would break free of the system anytime it tried to control it. So I understand, but I said, you know, most of our younger generation right now doesn't understand what that system was. And I said, that system destroys people. That system controls. It tries to take over, and then it tries to destroy you by submitting it yourself to it. And I said, what we have is there you go.
I'm trying not to be triggered.
Spin cycle again. So what we have is we've got to go back past that system. Instead of just having a Hebrew roots movement, a messianic movement, something like that, that's basically a reworked system. And if you don't understand what the system is, the tendency is just to rework it and bring it forth again. Okay, I'm done. Go ahead. I see way too much stuff going on with you.
Yeah. Sometimes you get triggered and you didn't know you was going to get triggered.
Go ahead, Snowflake.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I see a parallel socially. There is a young generation in our nation here who have been enticed in the collegiate system especially, but now it's going down to the lower ranks of the education systems to promote socialism. We Americans have, by and large, never tasted socialism in a blatant form. It has crept in.
Yeah, not at the level that most of the world, yes, I got it.
You know, it's crept in incrementally for many, many decades and generations. But those who grew up under the authority of socialism in other countries that have migrated or immigrated here are standing up with a loud voice and saying, you don't know what you're heading into. You've never really tasted it. Someone from, say, Venezuela or former Eastern Bloc Europe, people that have I keep saying migrated, immigrated here, those that grew up in China and have somehow gotten out and been able to come here, they're standing up with red flags and saying, stop, stop, stop. And it's the same scenario. We've never been under that, so we don't know what we're asking for.
Mm-hmm.
Those that, as you're describing, they're kind of pushing, we need to be more affable, have greater affinity with the other system, readopt their nomenclature and terms and so forth, and more readily identify ourselves in agreeable terms with them in order to rebuild with them. I'm all for rebuilding some of the bridges that I personally burned, thinking I was doing the right thing. When I came out, I burned relationships, I burned opportunities out of this newfound zeal of, I don't want anything to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a difference between the system and the people that are either entrapped or still housed in the system. It's not people so much as it is the system of denominationalism and control of the local group. I had a dream, Mike. I just had this naive dream that if you did what this book said to do, and if you gave Yah your complete and total heart and being in that effort, number one, he would be with you, and number two, everything would work out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and in a large sense of that term and that phrase, everything has worked out, but it's not been without difficulty. It's not been without issue. I give a scriptural case in point here in Acts chapter 10. Cornelius, a Roman guard, centurion, if you will, has an understanding of the Creator. He is dedicated, fearing Elohim. He's doing what the Torah requires to the best of his understanding, has a vision, and tells him to send for Kepha. And it says that on the next day, as they were coming toward where Kepha was at, he himself was on the roof of his home, or the home where he was staying, and prayed in the 6th hour, and fell into a trance. He sees the vision of the sheet with the various animals let down, and is pondering. Out of all of that process, Yah shows him that he is not to call the goyim unclean if Yah is calling them. Up until that point, Kepha's dream and vision was a house of Yehuda only dream and vision.
Mm-hmm.
But Yah enlarged his vision and kept him from recycling and rehearsing the same thoughts that would have limited the entire scope of the followers of Yeshua to those that were of his immediate house. Rather than be on the recycle cycle, Yah opened his eyes and helped him to understand there are more involved in this than what you have imagined to this point. Here's a new dream. Here's a new vision. And it wasn't without difficulty. He even said, it's unlawful, according to my peers, for me to be here.
Mm-hmm.
But Yah has given me permission to be here. And that's the loose Phillips translation and paraphrase version.
So he got in touch not with his renewed, recycled kind of vision, but with the original. Okay.
More than he realized.
Yeah, extreme more than he realized. I didn't get the reference. I just thought of this in Isaiah. There's 2 places in Isaiah that it says that it seems to contradict itself in English. One place it says, remember the things of old, or the former things. The other place it says, do not remember the things of old or the former things. So what's he saying to us? Is he saying remember it or don't remember it? Well, if you look in Hebrew, the wording is different. Again, I didn't get the reference. I'd have to go back and do the research again on this. The wording in Hebrew is different. What it's saying is don't remember the recent things of old, but remember the ancient paths of old. Okay, total different. Now, you're talking about dreams, which is something you've been kind of, we've been discussing a number of times here lately, just together, is in this week's Torah portion, Meketz, in chapter 41 of Bereshit, Genesis, it says this, at the end of 2 years.
Yes.
Okay, now Joseph has a dream. His dream, and I talked about this last week, his dream is about his purpose. A dream is a revelation of your purpose. But the dream took him from a place of favor to a pit, to a palace, to a prison, to a palace. In this week's Torah portion, we have the beginning is at the end of 2 years. What was that 2 years? Why didn't the cupbearer and the baker, go before Pharaoh and go, hey, by the way, before you cut my head off, there's a guy that interpreted this, and you might want to go talk to him. Why didn't the cupbearer, after the whole scenario, go, hey, Pharaoh, by the way, I knew what was going to happen today. There's a guy in prison you need to talk to. But it was 2 years. He was forgotten about. I truly believe that in that 2 years, that 2 years was about him dealing with the original dream. That it was a struggle in that time. Was it a true dream? Was this something that I can embrace? Why have I gone through these things? What are the obstacles? Maybe the 2 years of probable solitude was the greatest preparation for the man to embrace the dream in the end. So my encouragement to people is this: if you feel yourself in a prison alone, and it's been about 2 years, it might be time for the guards to come get you. It may be time for a bath. It may be time for a new set of clothes. And it may be time that the words that I've spoken so many times out of Proverbs chapter 18, verse 16, a man's gift will make room for him, and he will stand before great ones.
Yeah.
That verse never comes true without going through the pit and the prison experience first, because the man of the gift is made in the pit and the prison.
Boy, you say that about 15 times. Yeah. Imagine that Joseph's original mindset of dreams coming to pass was within his own household, which is true, but in a different location and under greatly different circumstances. We have a dream. We believe that we hear from Yah. We believe that he has called us to a certain thing. And in the origins of that impartation of understanding, this is something that's future, is prophetic to you. We put the parameters around it as to how it has to happen under present circumstances, not realizing that we ourselves are not ready for that to come to pass. It's rare that you get a prophetic dream or vision and it happens in a week. More often than not, you personally have to be grown and expanded in your capacity to be able to handle the dream. And I used this past week in my Shabbat teaching. You're praying for a dramatic increase in finances. And you hear from Yah I'm going to do what you've asked me to do, there is going to be a dramatic increase in finances. You're going to go from, let's say, five figures to upper six. Okay, this is a significant double, tripling, and beyond of my income. Well, if you ask someone, if you suddenly won the lottery, the first thing that they see you see in their eyes is a spending spree. Well, I'm going to buy a new car and a new house, go on vacation, and maybe get a plane and so on. And that's the reason that we don't have this super increase, is because our understanding of what the money would be for is not what Yah has intended. There's nothing wrong with money. Money is a great tool. It's a great vehicle. It's a great means to get things done. Americans have been trained, if you have an increase in cash, it's about what you can buy. And Yah is saying it's seed. It's a tool. It's a vehicle. It's a means of getting kingdom established. And when you think in the right terminologies, when your dream shifts from self and self-satisfaction to kingdom and kingdom production, then I can equip you not just with finances, but with insights and understandings of scripture and connections and opportunities. I can move you into that arena when you're properly focused and when you have the wherewithal to handle it. Joseph wasn't ready at 17 to rule his family.
Oh, no.
13 years later, after a time of being broken and tamed and humbled and equipped, then he was ready.
Mm-hmm.
And he was ready. It overwhelms me. He woke up in prison garbs, eating prison food, and went to bed that night in a palace with royal clothes on and married, and a meal of incredible ability in his stomach in 24 hours.
Married to the Pharaoh's daughter. I mean, that's who'd have thought that? Okay, let me take you back a couple of things here. You mentioned, win the lottery, spending spree like that. I did not know that this day existed yesterday, and I'll get to what the day is. But let's go back to the last week. We had Thanksgiving Thursday.
Yes.
We had Black Friday.
Yes.
Cyber Monday.
Yes.
And one that I didn't know about, Giving Tuesday.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that.
I know. I saw it come up. That in itself is back. What should we have had? We should have had Thanksgiving, giving, and then the other stuff. So basically, it's like this. Whatever you have left from your spending sprees of Black Friday and Cyber Monday, well, if you have any crumbs left, please, that type of thing. Let me give you one that will be a thought for the day, going up on Facebook within the next couple of days. The dream is always prepared for the man, but the man must be prepared for the dream.
Agreed. Yeah.
And that's the thing. When Joseph, he thought he was prepared. He had that coat of many colors. He thought he was prepared for the dream. Then he finds himself in the pit. Some changes happened in him. Then he goes to the palace. Yeah, hey, I'm prepared now. I've been through the pit. All right, I've been to the pit. I've learned my lesson. I'm now prepared for the dream, and this is how it's going to happen. And the next thing he finds himself is the prison again. And then he's acquainted somebody else's dream. He has to interpret someone else's dream. He has to become a part of someone else's dream. And that probably triggered, as you said the word there, Snowflake. It triggered in him the dream. the dream. I got to get back in touch with my own dream. But it was 2 years of birthing within him, within the man,
Yeah.
preparing him for the outcome. So that when he walked up those steps, if there were steps, when he walked up those steps out of that prison and into the palace, and he's standing before the Pharaoh, he's not like, okay, I got the dream. I got this down. This is coming to pass. We're on the road. Success is mine. No. Instead, he said, I wonder if I'm ready. What am I standing here for? He was there'd been the growth in him, but he knew better. He knew better than to become arrogant with the dream.
Otherwise, he would have looked at Pharaoh and said, my dream is that the sun, moon, and stars are going to bow down to me. What are you doing sitting on the throne? That's where I belong.
Yeah.
That would have worked.
Yeah. Yeah. And he'd have been back in the he'd have been back in the prison again. So if you don't allow the dream to make you into the man or woman that can walk the dream out, the dream by necessity must put you back in the prison.
Say that again?
Now you got me spinning. So when you come to the place that you're on the edge of the manifestation of the dream will test you. The dream will examine you to see if you are prepared for that manifestation of the dream. If the dream deems that you are that the fulfillment of the dream would destroy you, then the dream by necessity will put you back into the prison.
Okay. Yeah. But let's add one closing thought here as we're coming up on time. There are a number of people, I would think, that would be watching this maybe and saying, what dream? What vision? I'm
You have to go back. Yeah.
just
another program.
I'm just trying to pay my bills.
Yeah.
You guys are talking about excelling, accomplishing, achieving. I'm just trying not to drown in my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you only knew what my life circumstances were. If you don't have a dream that reaches beyond the immediate circumstances, then you will only recycle and rehearse immediate circumstance issues again and again and again. Yep. And we put it this way, and in other terminology, it's called being trapped. We learn, and I've watched this happen. I've done enough people work in a variety of settings to know, Mike, that there are people that they learned to survive an adverse or less than the desirable circumstances. And that in itself is worthy of a medal in many situations. But you want to be more than a survivor. You want to be an overcomer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeshua granted increase in gifts and established places of righteous standing to those in the congregations in Revelation that overcame. Mm-hmm. Yes, we're called to endurance. Yes, we're called to perseverance in the pursuit of the dream and the vision. I refuse to live getting up every day and just thinking, what is my daily routine, and rehearse the daily routine. I got up this morning, the alarm went off, and I realized, okay, it's Wednesday. I got recording with Mike. Before the recording starts, I've got these things to do. Now that we're coming toward the end of the recording, in my mind, I'm thinking video production and other things that need to be done today. Somewhere in all of this routine of Wednesday, I need 5-10 minutes where I can open the door of my mind and my understanding and say, Father, take my mind
Mm-hmm.
and let your spirit put me in a different realm of understanding. Show me something. Help my mind to develop. Help me to see beyond this. Otherwise, we'll live our lives inside four walls and we'll never reach beyond it.
Yeah.
My encouragement today, my intended encouragement, if you're only recycling thoughts and rehearsing memories, and that's where you're at, and you're in survival mode, give yourself 5 minutes out of your survival mode. Just take 5 minutes. Take a deep breath, sit on your front porch, take a walk, do something, and just ask, Yah, would you give me 5 minutes of your heart
Mm-hmm.
and your perspective and help me to see beyond where I'm at for 5 minutes. And if you can do that consistently, seeds of hope, seeds of change, seeds of something better, seeds of resolve, seeds of something that is bigger than yourself. And prayerfully, it won't be just keeping your nose above water enough to breathe, but you'll be able to stand up and eventually get out of that cesspool you've been living in. My heart is to see people be able to be set free and chains fall off.
Yeah. And I think with that is a good thing to maybe come back to this next week of dreams, because you said something about, people don't have a dream. Yeah, the dream is there. The dream is there, but it's been covered up. It's covered. The world system steals dreams, covers them up, makes you forget that they could ever come to pass. I'm not just talking about finances and new car. We're this is a whole thing that we need to talk about. So, all right, till next week.
Yes, thanks for watching Foundations for Life. Mike Clayton, Barry Phillips. We'll see you again next week.